Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Kuf Lamed Vov Amud Aleph. 18 lines from the bottom. The first word on the line is Michlal de Pligi. The Gemara previously taught us that according to Rav Shimon Gamliel, if a child is born within the first 30 days, he has the status of a nefil. And only after 30 days is he considered to be kayam. Similarly, when it comes to a behema, the first 7 days of the behema's birth is considered to be a nefil. Only from 8 days and beyond is it going to be viable kayam. The Gemara then pointed out that there's a machlokes, and the Chacham argue on this opinion of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. However, the Gemara said, L'chumra, we paskin like Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, that indeed a child within the first 30 days is a nefil, and a behema, the first 7 days, also is considered to be a nefil. Says the Gemara, Omar Abaye, Nofal min hagag, oy ochloi ari, divrei hakol chayhu. If there's an extraneous circumstance that the child died, he was killed either because he died from falling off a roof, or he was eaten by a lion, then the assumption is that he was still kayam. In other words, we'll go after the roiv, the assumption that most children are kayam, even though this is a child that died within 30 days. Ki pligi shepiek umeis. The machlokes between Rabbi Shimon Gamliel and the Chachamim is if the child were to yawn, show a little bit of chiyus, and then die. Mar saver chayhu umar saver meishu. The Chacham would say he's considered to be Chai, whereas according to Rav Shimon Gamliel, since this occurred within the first 30 days, there's not enough Chiyus, and therefore he's a Nefil. Lamai Nafka Mina asked the Gemara, what is the practical ramifications of this? Lifter min hayibum. If the child was a sole child, and the father had died, and the child subsequently died within the 30 days of the child's birth. So according to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, the mother will be chayiv yibum to her dead husband's brother. But according to the Chachamim, since we consider it to be a viable child within the first 30 days, therefore there's no chiyuv of yibum. The Gemara now brings the statement that Abaye had just mentioned, Nofal min hagag oy ochloi ari divra kolhu, that if a child were to fall off a rooftop or be eaten chalila by an ari, a lion, so it's considered to be still chai because it was an extraneous, an outside type of way that it died, and therefore it was still going to be viable. They came and they visited the son of Rav Idi bar Avin, and he prepared for them a choice calf on the 7th day of its birth. And they said to him, they said to him, had you just waited until tonight to slaughter the calf, we would go ahead and enjoy the repast together with you and eat together with you. But we hold like the sheet of Rav Shimon Gamliel that indeed it's the 7th day, it's considered to be a nefil. So we see from here that even though there was an outside factor that caused the calf to die, in other words it was shechted, still not everybody agrees that it's a kayim. We see that Rav Shimon Gamliel would hold that indeed it's going to be considered to be a mace. It's going to be something that's not viable. So it can't be that that's really what Abaye said, that if only it died from an outside factor, that it's still considered to be kayim. Rather, what Abaye meant to say is that if the child were to yawn and then die, that means showing a little bit of chiyus and then die, then everybody would agree that that's considered to be a mace. It wasn't a child that was kayim, that had viability. Ki paligi benofal min hagag ve'ochlu ari. What are they arguing about? They're talking about when the child fell from the rooftop or was eaten by an ari. Mar saver meishu umar saver chayhu. According to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, it's mace, because still within the 30 days. So it doesn't make a difference that it was eaten by an outside factor or died by falling off the rooftop. But according to the Chachamim, who argue on Rav Gamliel, they say that the child is viable. The Gemara tells us that Rav Dimi bar Yosef had a child, and within 30 days it died. He sat down to then mourn for the child that just died. His father came and approached him, and he said to him sarcastically, do you want to eat tasty foods that they feed to Avelim? In other words, that's why you are now being misabel, being noig Avelus. He said to his father, no, I'm certain that this was a full-term birth, and therefore he was a viable child, and therefore I'm going ahead and being misabel over my child. Rav Ashi ikloi lebei Rav Kahano. Rav Ashi came to visit Rav Kahano. Isroi be milse begoy tlosin yomin. There was an unfortunate incident where his child died within 30 days. Chazi diyosi v'komes abel ilavei. Rav Ashi saw that Rav Kahana was sitting and being noig avelus. Omar lei. So he said to Rav Kahana, Loi sover lomar loho. Dom Rav Yehuda, Dom Shmu halakha Rav Shimon Gamliel. Do you not hold that the halacha is like Rav Shimon Gamliel? Did you not hear that that's the halacha? Omar lei. So Rav Kahana said back to Rav Ashi, Kimli begave shekalu loy chadashav. I know for certain that it was a full-term pregnancy, and therefore the child was a viable child, even though he died within 30 days. In other words, even Rav Shimon Gamliel agrees that it's considered to be chai, and even though it died within the 30 days, it was viable. Itma, the Gemara now brings that when indeed a child were to die within 30 days, is the mother going to be potter from Yibum if this child was the sole child from a husband that then died before the child himself died? Itmar, says the Gemara, Meis b'soy shloishim va'omda v'niskadsha. A woman gave birth to a child, her husband had passed away, and then the child, within the 30 days of its birth, passed away. So now, if the child was indeed viable, a chai, even though it died within 30 days, then she's not somebody who has to then do yibum. But if the child indeed was considered to be meis, it was not viable, then she would be chayiv to fall yibum to her dead brothers, to her dead husband's brother. Omar Ravina mishmei de Rava. Ravina is the name of Rava on top of Kuf Lamed Vav Amud Beis. Im Eishes Yisrael hi choletzes, im Eishes kohen hi eina choletzes. If she was then remarried to somebody who was a bar Yisrael, who was a Yisrael, then she should go ahead and do chalitza. That means to say that she should go ahead and divorce this man, get a get from this man, then do chalitza with her dead husband's brother, and then go ahead and remarry the second husband. However, if she married a kohen, that would be something that would not enable her to then remarry that kohen, because once she gets divorced from the kohen, she can no longer, she's a grusha, or even if she doesn't get divorced, but she would be a chalutza midrabban, she could not get remarried. So therefore, the din is then be soymech on the shita of the Rabbanon, and be makil over here that she does not have to then do chalitza. Rav Shravya mishmei de Rava Omar, achazu va'achazu choletzes. Rav Shravya, in the name of Rava, said that even if she were to then had married a kohen, she would still have to do chalitza with her dead husband's brother, and she would not be able to then remarry that kohen. Omar le Ravina le Rav Shravya. Ravina says to Rav Shravya, who just said the statement in the name of Rava, that indeed she would do chalitza even if she had married a kohen. Omar le, he said to him, he said to him, Be'orta Omar Rava Hochi. At night is when Rava said this. However, Litzafra Hoderbe, the next morning he already changed his mind. And therefore, if indeed she married a kohen, she would not do chalitza. Omar lei. So he was not happy with this response. Rosh Ravia said back to Ravina, Sheriuso, you're going to then go ahead and matir a woman who's an Eshes Ish. Yehe Rava Desharu Tarba. May it be Hashem's will that you then also be matir that which is chaylev, which is also to eat. In other words, he was saying to say that then if you would do this and matir an Eshes Ish in the shuk, then you would also be matir chaylev and say that that is mutter to eat when we know that it's also to eat. The Gemara now quotes the last statement in our Mishnah that Rabbi Yehuda is cholek with the Tanakama and says by an androgynous, which is a child that was born with both simonim of a zachar and a nekeva, that although the Chachamim, the Tanakama says that it's a suffix and therefore such a milah would not be doiche Shabbos, Rabbi Yehuda says it is yes doiche Shabbos. Says the Gemara, Omar Rav Shizvi, Omar Rav Chisda, Loi lekol, Omar Rabbi Yehuda androgynous zacharhu. Rabbi Yehuda, although he says by milah that you would then doiche Shabbos because it has the din, androgynous has a din of a zachar, but that's not so in other places. He just says it here by milah. She'im ata omer kain, then be'erechin ye'orech. Because if you would say that he holds that it's a zachar, then also when it comes to erechin, it would have value. But a person would make a shvuah of an erech, he would say erech alai to this androgynous. So then, if it had the din of a zachar, then he would have to pay a certain amount of amount that would go to the Beis Hamikdash by making such a vow. So Gemara says uminolin deloi me'arech. Where do we know taka that it has no erech? Androgynous, if he would make an erechin alai, the value of the androgynous, the Tanya, the Gemara brings a braisa. It says in the pasuk, I'll quote you the two psukim that the Gemara is going to bring now. It says, "V'hoya erkecha hazachar, bi ben esrim shana v'ad ben shishim shana, between the age of 20 and 60. V'hoya erkecha chamishim shekel kesef b'shekel kodesh." If you would say the erech of a zachar is upon me, then it would then be a requirement to give the Beis Hamikdash 50 shkolim. V'im nekevahu, if it was a nekeva that you say erech alai, v'haya erkecha shloishim shekel, then it would be the value of 30 shekel that would have to then be given to the Beis Hamikdash. Says the Braisa, the Tanya, hazachar, quoting the pasuk, the word hazachar has an additional hey. V'loi tumtum v'androgynous, and not a tumtum. A tumtum is a child that's born where the simonim are covered with a thick membrane, and therefore you don't know if it's a zachar or nekeva. Yachol, I might think lo yehei be'erech ish, aval yehei be'erech isha. I might still think that it doesn't have the erech of a zachar of an ish of 50 shkolim, but maybe it has the erech of an isha of 30 shkolim. Tamularmar, therefore it said hazochar, and it says v'im nekevahi. Zachar, the additional hey teaches me vadai. It has to be a zachar that is vadai, that is certain, that is definite. Nekeva vadois, it has to be a nekeva that's vadois to have an erech. V'loi tumtum va'androgynous, and not, this comes to exclude a tumtum and androgynous, that they wouldn't have any erech. A person that erech alai, this child, or this person that's a tumtum or androgynous, it would have no such requirement to give any money to the Beis Hamikdash. We're on top of Kuf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph, and this price that we just quoted was a sifra, and it says over here V'stam sifra Rabbi Yehuda, and the stam sifra is authored by Rabbi Yehuda. So you see that Rabbi Yehuda holds that androgynous is not a zachar for the din inyan of erechin. Says the Gemara Vayter, another proof that Rabbi Yehuda did not make the statement that androgynous is a zachar in other places. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchok af anon nami tanina. We also learned this in a Mishnah. Hakol kisherim, everybody is kosher to make then the Efer HaPara, by taking the Efer HaPara and putting it into the Mayim, So akol ksherim lekadesh, to do this, chutz me cheresh shoita v'koten. Rabbi Yehuda machshir bekoten. He does say that a koten can do this. Upoisil bi'ishav androginus, but he says a woman and androginus cannot make the efer poro. Shmamina, so we can derive from here that indeed that Rabbi Yehuda also does not say that one can make the efer poro by androginus, because androginus doesn't have the status of a zochar. Umayshno Mila asked the Gemara though, then why in our Mishnah is this an exception? If indeed Rabbi Yehuda we see in other places does not hold that an androgynous is a din of a zochar, why over here when it comes to bris milah it does have the din of zochar, and therefore if the 8th day is going to be on Shabbos, it will doiches ha-Shabbos by giving the milah to the androgynous? Answers the Gemara mishum dichsiv himo lochem kol zochar. It says over here in the pasuk, you shall be mal kol zochar. Kol comes to include even in androgynous. Anything that has then the siman of a zachrus, then will then have a bris milah, and therefore if the 8th day comes out to be on Shabbos, then the bris milah will be doiches ha-Shabbos.